Fight breakdown for UFC 329. It's Conor McGregor's return versus Max Holloway. So let's kick it off with Kai Kamaka versus Luke Riley. Guys, let's be real here. Kai Kamaka, sure, he's done some decent work in his last fight, but he just got back into the UFC, and I feel like they're throwing him to just lose here versus Luke Riley, who's a prospect that the UFC is trying to build. I got Luke Riley, and I got him winning by knockout here. The guy's got some devastating power. Sure, in his last fight, it showed a lot of holes in his defense, and yeah, he should be worried for what Kamaka throws back at him. But I just think Luke Riley's a bit more sharper. He's a highly touted prospect, and I think the UFC is trying to build him up properly, and I see Luke Riley getting the win there. But moving on, we got Cody Garbrandt versus Adrian Yanez. Now, Adrian Yanez, I'm kind of a fan of. I feel like the UFC has given him hard matchups, and yes, he's lost some of those hard matchups. Two of them by brutal KO as of recent. By recent, I mean the past 3 years. But Yanez has skill. He has talent. He's looked better than Cody Garbrandt has, at least in his last few fights. Even if he's lost them, Cody looks like he's not in there to fight. He looks like he's in there to circle around, hit you a couple times, but really do nothing because he's scared of entering into that pocket. Yanez isn't scared of that, and I think that's ultimately going to win him this fight. That's why I'm going with Adrian Yanez in this fight. Next up, we got Gable Stevenson versus Alicia Ellison. Guys, listen, Alicia Ellison, he lost his last fight versus Perisic by knockout. I don't think they're doing him any favors by giving him Gable Stevenson. Yes, Gable Stevenson has multiple holes in his fight game that a lot of people are not addressing. I will here. Yes, his striking is not good at all. Let's be real. It looks like he just learned MMA a year ago, which is what he has. He just did learn MMA a year ago. So you got to give him props there, of course. But his striking isn't that good. But I don't believe Alicia Ellison poses any real threat towards him that can be devastating for him. That's why I think Gable Stevenson is just going to use his wrestling in this fight and get a TKO on the ground, possibly a submission. The guy's clearly one of the best wrestlers in the world as of now, in America at least. And I think he's there to beat Alicia Ellison. And we're going to see a little bit of some fights for Stevenson to build him up into these rankings. A lot of people think that he's going to be the next champion of the heavyweight division. I'd calm it down right there. We have Tom Aspinall. We have Cyril Gane. We have Alex Pereira in here. Those are hard guys to beat in the mix. Even Josh Hoke, you could argue, is a hard guy to beat. And yeah, so I wouldn't jump to conclusions, but we'll see how he looks in the octagon in the UFC. It's interesting. Let's move on to the next one. Nikita Krylov versus Robert Whittaker. We're seeing Robert Whittaker at light heavyweight for the first time for the first time ever, I think. And I'm glad that he's moving up to light heavyweight, as he just hasn't looked good in middleweight versus the competition. Even when it is subpar competition like Renier de Ritter, who really has a lot of holes in his striking, and Robert wasn't able to fully capitalize. Yes, he did knock him down in that fight, but he just hasn't looked his best as of recent. And let's be real. He's getting old. He's getting up there. But he's facing a guy like Krylov, who is old and up there. And I think Whittaker moves better than Krylov. Krylov looked great in his last fight, but I think Whittaker is the better fighter. He's going to have better movement in there. He still has a very good, a way of being in and out in his striking. And for how fluid he is at this age, I think Whittaker can get a win here, possibly by TKO. We've seen Krylov get chinned as of recent. So I'm going to go Whittaker here. I think he gets his debut win at light heavyweight. Let's move on to kind of like the fans' main event. Obviously Conor McGregor is the fans' main event. Let's be real there, okay? I kind of like overdid it there. But King Green versus Terrence McKinney. This is a one-rounder. Terrence McKinney has either gotten finished in the first round or finishes in the first round. King Green, he just goes in and he just jabs you up. He pieces you up on the feet. He's there to, stand and bang. And that's what we're going to see here. Do I think King Green has as much power as Terrence McKinney? No. That's why I'd fear entering into the pocket if I'm King Green in the first 2 minutes. But after those 2 minutes, man, you got to love Terrence because he fights to win in those first 2 minutes, but after that, man, he looks gassed out in some of those fights, in a lot of those fights. That's why, here's my pick. If it ends in the first 2 minutes, I'm predicting McKinney. If it ends past those, okay, whatever, 2 minute 30, if it ends past that, I think Bobby Green's gonna win that one. If it goes past that, I think Bobby has better cardio, better cardio at least. All I know is that this is gonna be the one of the best fights of the night, just because it's gonna be a finish no matter what. I guarantee it. If this fight somehow goes to a decision, that is like plus 2,000. Like it has to be. Cause I don't check these odds, but like it would have to be because that would be insane. Next up, Brendan Royval versus Lonier Kavanaugh. I'm a fan of Lonier Kavanaugh. I like the way he fights. I find he's able to piece you up on the feet with his hands, with his legs. Guys, he's an all-around kickboxer fully. His grappling is not bad at all. He has some pretty good grappling too. Brendan Royval, he's dependent on his boxing. He has some decent chokes. I wouldn't say he's really a guy that'll attack a limb, but he's always there. If he gets your back, he could choke you out. But I think Kavanaugh's careful on that. He knows he has 3 rounds here, and I do think Lonier is the more complete fighter, at least on the feet. I believe he's more complete, and I think Lonier can get probably a decision here. I don't think he's gonna finish Royval. If he does, that's a statement win. That doesn't earn you a title shot, but that's a statement win. But I'm feeling Lonier Kavanaugh, and I think he'll probably get the decision here. Moving on to the next fight, we got Mario Bautista versus Corey Sandhagen. Corey Sandhagen beat Mario Bautista in Bautista's UFC debut. Things have changed since then. Both have had great careers in the UFC, really. Neither have got a title, but both have been pursuing it their whole career. Corey Sandhagen, he's always going to be there on the feet. He is the much better striker than Mario. I like Mario's boxing, it's good. But Corey's better. Corey's better at striking. The grappling, from their first fight, Corey was struggling in the grappling. He won, but you saw that he had holes in his grappling game. Right now, he's patched those holes. Yes, he lost to Merab Dvalishvili, but so has basically everyone in this division apart from Petr Yan. I think that, I don't know, man. Corey's the complete fighter here, and Mario is a complete fighter. They both have the tools to beat each other. Yes, Mario has better grappling, but don't undermine or underrate Corey Sandhagen's ability on the ground and his ability to get up. And I feel that when they do get up, it becomes dangerous for Mario. Even though he's a phenomenal striker, it becomes dangerous for him, as it does everyone. No one wants to stand on the feet with Corey Sandhagen, unless you're Petr Yan, of course. But even at that, I think Corey Sandhagen, if it stays in a striking realm, if he's able to negate the grappling of Mario, I think he gets it done. I think it's going to be a decision win. I don't see either of them really finishing each other. I think it's one of the closest matchups on this card. That's why I'm kind of like, I'm making my decision right now, because I've been going back and forth with myself all week thinking, is Mario going to win or is Corey? But right now, I'm leaning towards Corey. Maybe tomorrow I change my pick to Mario. So do not make a bet with what I'm saying for this fight, because I am so left and right, basically. Moving on to the next fight, it's the co-main event. We got BSD versus Paddy Pimblett. If you told me that Paddy Pimblett and BSD were fighting a year ago, I would say no, because Benoit Saint Denis wasn't doing anything. Paddy Pimblett, I don't know, maybe I would say yes, actually, because was Paddy Pimblett really doing anything? I think he just came off that win versus Chandler, so yeah, I would say yeah, this doesn't make sense, because BSD had been on like a 2-fight losing streak at the time, but wow, has he come back. And boy, I'm really excited for this fight. Paddy Pimblett has the grappling advantage. Let's lay that down right there. Now, BSD, people see him primarily as a kickboxer. I see him primarily as a grappler. I think he's leaned on his grappling more and more throughout his last couple of fights, and I think that's won him these fights. What I don't like about this fight for him is the fact that in this fight, he's going to have to lean towards his striking, because in the grappling realm, I don't think he could compete with Paddy. who has the better takedowns? I would say it's Benoit, but when it comes to being on the ground and just being able to, practically throw a submission out of nowhere, that's Paddy's game. Let's be real. Paddy got kind of like a newsflash, a life check, a little status check in his last fight when he fought Justin Gaethje. He came out there, horrible game plan, just to get hit in the face the whole time and not even shoot a takedown. Even if your entries are horrible, shoot a takedown. You need to shoot one in the first round at least. You are the grappler there. You're not a striker. He's got to come with that mentality that I am a grappler. I need to grapple this guy. I need to submit him or he will knock me out. Because Benoit has significantly better striking than Paddy Pimblett. Let's put it right there. Paddy Pimblett probably has a better gas tank. Not the best gas tank in the world, to be honest. And neither Benoit Saint Denis with a phenomenal gas tank. This fight is going to be more active in the first and second round than it is in the third. The third, I do not expect things to really to really pick up, and we're going to see, really clean striking, really clean grappling in the third round. No, I don't expect it. In the second and first, though, these guys do pick up that pace. These guys do like to go for the finish. Third round, yes, there's going to be an upping of pace, but it's going to be sluggish. It's not going to look clean at all. I'm leaning towards Paddy Pimblett just because I believe he's a bit higher level than Benoit. I think Benoit still has to learn a couple things, but at the same time, obviously you guys are going to say, who are you to talk? You're not like this crazy martial artist. But to be real, I couldn't care less what you think about that. I'm judging these two fighters. But I do think from what I've seen, Paddy Pimblett is the guy to beat Benoit Saint Denis here. I think the UFC strategically are making this matchup so they could see so they could see Paddy, enter back into the top 5. They're going to somehow get him into the top 5, even though he's beating number 7 or number 6. I have no idea, but still, they're going to somehow slip him into the top 5 if he gets a win here. My pick's Paddy, but it's a close fight. It's a close fight. There's no doubt about it. Max Holloway versus Conor McGregor, main event. Boy, oh boy, I want Conor to win, but he's not going to win. It's Max Holloway's fight here. Now, I know a lot of you guys are fans of Conor McGregor. I'm a fan too, yes. But he has had 4 to 5 years off of the game. He hasn't been striking with the best in the world like Max Holloway has. He hasn't been grappling with the best in the world like Max Holloway has. Yes, he got mauled in his last fight with grappling with Oliveira, but he at least grappled with Oliveira. McGregor has done drugs, cocaine, sent dick pics to girls. He hasn't really done much good UFC-wise, MMA-wise, training-wise to beat Max Holloway. Now, yes, he looks locked into his camp. I hope he is as locked in as we really think he is, but I don't see him beating Max, man. Max has been active. Activity matters. If you've been watching this sport for a while now, you know that activity matters. And if you're not an active fighter, you're gonna mess up. Ilia Topuria, he fought Charles Oliveira June 28th, 2025. He fights Justin Gaethje 2026, June 14th. He lost. That's a year of inactivity about. I understand it may not be the best example, but there are plenty of examples of fighters just taking years off, coming back, and it just doesn't make sense. You just wasted prime years. I understand Conor McGregor had rehab, but he also did drugs. You can't say that coming off drugs, he's going to be amazing. I don't think so. Even before that, let's look at his fighting style. He had a karate stance when he began in the UFC. He was light on his feet because he was 145 pounds when he shouldn't have been. Let's make that clear. He was 145 pounds, but he probably shouldn't have been. He was so light and light on his feet. He looked amazing in that octagon. Move to 155. You start to see him a bit heavier. He starts adopting the boxing stance when he comes back from the Mayweather fight. Looks even more heavier on his front feet, on his front foot. What does it mean? What happens when you're heavy on your front foot? Leg kicks happen. Max Holloway doesn't have the best leg kicks in the world, but he sure as hell is going to capitalize on it if McGregor comes in there with a karate stance, with a boxing stance. Karate stance too, you could get hit, but if he's in and it's easier not to get hit when you're in and out, light as a feather at 145 pounds. MVP, his karate stance works for him at middleweight, works for him at welterweight, light as a feather, because he's 6'3" at 170 pounds. There's a difference there. I want McGregor to win, but it just seems impossible. But can he do what's impossible? That's the question. I don't think so, but I hope so. My pick's Max Holloway. What's your picks? Make sure to comment down below.